The Comics #2, cover dated April 1937, was published by Dell Comics. This was the third ongoing comic book title from Dell Comics. Some of the highlights include the characters Tom Mix, J.R. Williams, John Hicks, Charles Call, and Roy Crane art. Washtubs was featured in a one-page adventure humor story, and International Spy featuring Dr. Doom was a 3-page spy story featuring a character called Dr. Doom. Western Picture Stories #3, cover dated April 1937, was published by Comics Magazine. Featured a classic Native American teaching a cowboy on the cover by artist William Allison. There's a 7-page Wild Tex Barton story from writer-artist Will Eisner, and this classic issue has a mile-high pedigree copy from the collection of Edgar Church. Detective Picture Stories #5, cover dated April 1937, came from Comics Magazine. The first detective adventure art ever by Bob Kane appeared in this issue, and Kane's 7-page story concerns the heirs to a millionaire fortune, a fellow who has a bit of Bruce Wayne in him. This was the last issue of the first Detective Comics series, part color, part black and white. In addition to the Bob Kane connection, there's another DC tie. The series publisher, the Comics Magazine Company, was started by two gents who left the company, now known as DC. The cover star is the Clock, who appeared in Quality Comics in later years. The Clock, the first masked hero created for comic books, was featured in a one-page story from writer-artist George Brenner. The Clock appeared on the cover by Georgie Brenner, and there was also a 7-page story from writer-artist George Brenner. The Case of the Missing Hair was 7 pages long, written and drawn by Bob Kane, featuring the characters Dr. J.R. Ferguson, Peterson the lawyer, Rogers, Dorothy, John Williams, Matilda the maid, the Boss as the villain, and Slick Ranger as a villain and makeup artist. Famous Funnies #33, cover dated April 1937, was published by Eastern Color. It featured the careers of Babyface, Nelson, and John Dillinger are covered in the War on Crime story from writer Rex Collier with art by Kemp Sterrett. This is the first crime genre story that's been running in every issue. Smatter Pop was the cover image. Jerry Iger gave us a 1-page Queenie story and a 1-page Bobby story. Buck Rogers returned in a 4-page story from writer Philip Francis Nolan with art by Rick Yeager under the alias Dick Calkins. This was the only sci-fi story in the issue. And Fisher's History of Boxing was a short feature from writer Ham Fisher with pencils by Al Cap under the alias Ham Fisher. And Joe Palooka was back in a 1-page story from writer Ham Fisher, and it's believed Al Cap was the artist in alias as Ham Fisher. The Funnies #7, cover dated April 1937, was published by Dell Comics. This was Dell's second ongoing comic series ever. Featured Major Hoopy on the cover. There's a 4-page Norman Marsh story of Dan Dunn. Scribbly returned in a 2-page story from writer-artist Sheldon Mayer. Bob Moore wrote Don Dixon and the Hidden Empire with art by Carl Pfeiffer. And the team also worked on Tad of the Tanbark in a 1-page story. Funny Pages #10, cover dated April 1937, was published by Comics Magazine. This was the first ongoing comic title from Comics Magazine, and some of the highlights include Ellis Edwards cover art, The Clock Strikes in a Clock story, 2 pages long from writer-artist George Brenner. Will Eisner gave us The Sapphire Eye of Sekhmet in a 2-page story. This was the last appearance of this strip. Funny Picture Stories #6, cover dated April 1937, was published by Comics Magazine. It featured an early war cover. The artist is unknown. The character is believed to be Tom Campbell. Bob Steele was a 7-page story from writer George Brenner, and this was a rare early science fiction story. Gerber rates this book scarce or a 7. King Comics #13, cover dated April 1937, was published by David McKay Publications. There is a mile-high pedigree copy from the Edgar Church collection. Some of the highlights include a fun cover of Thimble Theater, Henry, Little King, Bringing Up Father, and Just Kids, art by Joe Musial. There is a Thimble Theater 2-page story from writer-artist E.C. Cigar featuring Popeye. Flash Gordon returned in a 4-page story from writer-artist Alex Raymond. Sport Features was one page from writer Damon Runyon with pencils by Jack Burnley, featuring reprints from Sport Features Sundays from King Features. And Mandrake the Magician was returning in a 3-page story from writer Lee Falk and artist Phil Davis, featuring reprints from the 1936 Mandrake the Magician Sundays. Mickey Mouse Magazine returned again, number 19. This was volume 2, number 7, featuring a fun Donald Duck cover. Some of the other characters featured include Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Pluto, 3 Little Pigs, and many other animals. Popular Comics number 15, cover dated April 1937, was published by Dell Comics. This was Dell's first true success story, now running to a 15th issue. Highlighted characters include a 4-page Dick Tracy detective mystery from Chester Gould, Little Orphan Annie in a 3-page story from writer-artist Harold Gray, Terry and the Pirates was in a 3-page story from writer-artist Milton Caniff, Don Winslow was in a 2-page story from writer Frank Martinek and artist Leon Baroth. There is a Lamont Larson pedigree copy of this issue. Tip Top Comics number 12, cover dated April 1937, was published by United Features Syndicate. The main characters highlighted in this issue include Tarzan, Little Abner, Ella Cinders, Bronco Bill, and Jim Hardy. This was the first appearance of Jim Hardy, who was distributed by United Features Syndicate, first appearing in 1936 from creator Dick Moores. Dick Moores, born December 12, 1909, lived until April 22, 1986, an American cartoonist whose best-known work was the comic strip Gasoline Alley, which he worked on for nearly 3 decades. He met Frank King while in Chicago, sharing a studio with him while drawing his own strip from 1936 to 42. Initially known as Jim Hardy, it later focused on a cowboy supporting character, Windy, and his horse, Paddles. That was followed by 14 years working for Disney, drawing Uncle Remus and later Scamp. The best known of his work is the Mickey Mouse story The Wonderful Wizix in 4-color 427 in 1952, which some regard as the inspiration for Disney's The Love Bug.